Hello, I'm Corey Frost here from NHTV. I'm here today at North Haven High School talking to people about the addition of lunch to half days. Up until recently, the half day schedule of this high school did not include lunch. However, since the Hungry for Kids Act of 2010, lunches have been added to the schedule of this high school.
Basically, the government mandates that we supply every child with a healthy, balanced meal for breakfast and for lunch. We want to make sure that every child is fed. There's a lot of kids that go home at the end of the day and don't have food, at home. So we want to make sure, not only as a company, but as a district, that the children leave and they're fed. Whenever possible. We get a lot of money from the government for grants to make sure that everybody's getting a balanced meal, following the guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, it impacted the school schedule in that we had to build in additional time for the lunch period bit, and it shortens blocks 1, 2, and 4 somewhat. But in the end, it serves a pretty good purpose, and every class still does get to meet on those days. We changed the orders of blocks 4 and 3 so the students could eat lunch at a reasonable time and not start their lunch at 9:30 or something. So that's how it affected the schedule, and that seemed like a good idea. And so we went ahead and made that change effective this year. I've actually heard really positive things about it from students. Seem to like it.
As you're about to see, multiple students in North Haven High School have very different opinions on the half-day lunch schedule.
Lunch on half days takes up most of the time for other classes, so I enjoy that.
I like it. I mean, it's a little different. You have to get used to it first, but it's good having lunch on half days and not so hungry at the end of the day.
Day lunches are pretty okay. I mean, me as a senior, I would like to leave early, but I know some people would like to eat lunch, so
I am not a fan. They switch up the schedule, and that makes me very upset.
Thank you to all participants of the Lunch on Half-Day Schedules report. I'm Corey Frost from NHTV, and I will be signing off. Patricia Irasi is the Director of Food Services and made room in her busy schedule to answer some questions about the new changes to the half-day lunch schedule. Dr. Dahlia, the principal of North Haven High School, tells us about the changes that were made to the schedule of half-days with the new lunch edition.
There's a Hungry Child app that the state mandates where everybody is fed a nutritious meal for breakfast and lunch whenever possible. In the past, it hasn't been so important. State guidelines have gotten very strict with what you're allowed to serve, when you're allowed to serve it, that kind of thing. So when we offer the meal, we're doing a good thing all the way around. The child goes home, has a full belly, isn't hungry. Studies prove that they do better in school when they have, more balanced meals on a regular basis, and we get more funding from the state and the government to enable us to actually do that. So, it really is kind of a law per se to make sure that every child, is fed. No child is left hungry. So when we stay open for a longer period of time, we just have to navigate our staff and change the class schedules to make sure that we can fit them all in with lunch waves. So I think that in the past that's always been the problem because the days are a little bit shorter and it's very difficult with the curriculum to make sure that everybody has the right amount of time. But with all the new regulation that's in place now, it benefits us financially from the government standpoint. The children are fed, and it's the right thing to do. So we were able to maneuver it around this year and change it to make sure that nobody goes home hungry.
So it sounds like the state pretty much is taking care of like people's personal problems or putting people's personal endeavors in favor.
Oh, absolutely. They want to make sure that, there have been times where, certain places didn't open. I mean, cafeterias wouldn't open at all if there was a half a day. And, that child who is unfortunate, that they don't have food at home to eat. So they want to make sure that when they're in the school environment that they're able to receive the nutrition that they need, to survive. And we can do that here. They might not have the means or the availability at home, but we can do that here, as a group. And we, it was a collective effort on the Board of Ed and the district to pull it all together to make sure that every child is fed breakfast and lunch on every day, full day, half day. Today was a little bit different because it was a 2-hour delay and, with the elementaries, but we have to be really flexible. But we want to make sure that everyone gets a balanced meal within the National School Lunch Guidelines whenever we possibly can.
So what's your personal preference on this choice?
Oh, I love it because I think that, my employees are working more hours, so they're happy. They're here when they wouldn't be, so they're, financially it benefits them a little bit. You know what I mean? And to know that the child that would normally go home and not have anything to eat is being fed, is amazing. When it first started, I was really apprehensive. I didn't think it was going to be we wouldn't get as much participation as we're getting, but I was just pleasantly surprised that we are just rocking it. Everybody's coming. So that tells me that there's children out there that would rather eat, before they go home. And, I have children of my own and preferably would like to have them, eat, before they come home as well so they're not so hungry when they get there. So it's just a win-win all the way around. So it's something that needed to happen. We got together, we discussed it, and we made it happen.
Last question. So how does this change the schedule of like the chefs working in the kitchens?
Well, some of them would normally be off, and they're not. They work. We have a lot of working moms that work within the food service, and that's a great thing because, their kids are in the school and they kind of work with the school schedule. So, that all works out well. So what we do is on half days, if someone wants to have the day off or needs to have the day off because of a child that, they need to take care of, we take that into consideration. So we try to move people around if we can. So it's a benefit for them because they're actually making more money. They have the opportunity to make more money while we're open and while school is actually running. So they would normally have the day off and now they're able to work, which, benefits them and, it helps their family. And so they're feeding you guys and helping you guys. So it's a win-win all the way around.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Whether, in a half day, which is a shortened day, and people typically leave here at noon, do we need to serve lunch within the day? The concern was to make sure that students have, adequate nutrition for the day. And also, we have more students who stay after school than ever before. So many students are involved in clubs and sports and activities that for many students, even though it's a half day, it's still really a full day and they're staying after. So that was the discussion, and we talked about it, and it's just
Yeah. For my personal preference, I feel like it's definitely a good move as far as people's nutritional value and students being able to be fully fed, even though, because you never know somebody's circumstance.
well, that's true too. You're right, because there's a number of students who might not have lunch, were it not for school lunch or something, and so that's a good thing too.
Can you explain how this impacted your schedule?
Um, it makes